Hello and welcome to the Redskins-Cowboys Post Game Show. I am your host, Cameron Sadeghi. This is a special edition show today. We will have a guest coming on as promised, and some of you saying, well, right after the game, why weren't you on? Sorry about that. I was trying to listen to some of the press conferences to see what was being said by some of the coaches and players. Well, by the two coaches and Shanahan and Jason Garrett. So I wanted to see what they were saying. So I want to discuss, well, obviously I want to discuss this game. And first of all, let me tell you the score, 28-18, if you didn't see it. And some of you are saying, what was at stake for this football game? Very simple. Just win this football game and you win the NFC East, and you're in the playoffs. Okay? Very, very simple. If you lose, you're out. So, the winner of this game, which is the Washington Redskins, will face on Sunday on Fox at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will face the Seattle Seahawks in Washington. So, at home, they got the division, and they're hosting one playoff game. I want to also, I'm going to give my thoughts here on the show, but I want to hear your thoughts, okay? Because lately, we haven't been really getting that many calls, or none. So I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me what you think about what happened. A lot of talk has been about how Tony Romo's 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions were a disappointment today. Let me just say something very clear. Before I even dive into the extra things that occurred in this ball game. Tony Romo has really, a lot of people are saying, he's disappointed us. He's an elite quarterback, and he's doing terrible, and he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. I don't think people understand what Tony Romo has done. You look at, and some of you are saying, don't look at fan reaction, but there are hashtags in the United States trends showing there's Tony Romo. Tony Romo's trending, and man, it's brutal. It's brutal. There's one guy who even says, "Want to hear a joke, Tony Romo?" I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, there's some references that are not allowed to even be repeated on air. Okay, I mean that was clean. I mean, there was even one that says if this one person tweeted, if Tony Romo tried to shoot himself in the head tonight, I'm sure an angel would intercept the bullet. It's like it's dumb. It's dumb. Okay, this guy, and you can say what you want about him as a football player or even as a person. I don't judge players off the field because that's not my job here on the show. My job isn't to say, hey, did you see Tony Romo's new girlfriend? Oh, Tony Romo, he used to date Carrie Underwood. No, I'm not supposed to judge that here. And and tomorrow morning is going to be brutal for Tony Romo. Monday morning quarterbacking from radio hosts, fans, calling into shows. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be really brutal. And I feel bad for the guy. Completely. He is one of the driving forces of the Dallas Cowboys' success through his tenure. And some may say, well, he doesn't come up in clutch moments. Wait a second. Tony Romo is a undrafted free agent. Some people don't remember that. Tony Romo was an undrafted free agent, and he came to one of the more prestigious organizations in the entire NFL. Okay, and time after time after time after time, he's been scrutinized. From the Seattle fumble, he's been scrutinized after the Giant game. He's been scrutinized for not winning more than one playoff game. But let me ask you this. What were the Cowboys after the Johnson-Switzer head coaching era? It was downhill. It was downhill. What about the Drew Bledsoe days? Were those amazing? Not quite. Who had more success? Bledsoe or Romo? Which quarterback has made some... Let's be quite honest with you. You can say he's not clutch, but he's still their quarterback, and they came this far to have an opportunity for the playoffs. Not many quarterbacks in the NFL can even make it to the playoffs. Not many quarterbacks can even put their team in a position for the playoffs. Not many quarterbacks can lead his team downfield on a huge drive and on 3rd and goal hit a back shoulder pass, and then on a 2-point conversion hit a pass perfectly only where his receiver can catch it. There are not that many quarterbacks that I know in the NFL who can almost lead his team to the playoffs with an offensive line not able to pick up a blitz against a team that rarely blitzes. I don't know many quarterbacks who can do what Tony Romo has done. And while some of you may disagree, and while some of you may yell, rant, scream, shout, drop an expletive, whenever you see number 9 on a football field, just remember this. The Cowboys organization has never been the same. It's never, ever been the same. Since the dark days of 02, 03, 04, they've missed a leader. They've missed an elite quarterback, and they finally found one. So, think a second. Do not say Tony Romo is a bad quarterback. Just wonder how this organization was without him. How his running dynamic enables him to make passes on the run when the play is broken down. Even Jason Garrett put it so eloquently. Tony Romo did not lose the game. We lost the game. It's a team game. I'm not quoting him exactly, but that's the gist of his press conference in regards to the subject. He said, yes, Tony Romo has a part in our loss, but he's not the only reason why we lost. And that's something that you need to remember. In the ultimate team game, do not blame one player. Blame the 53 men and the coaches who suit up to play a game. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll break down the game even more, and I'll get Lamar Gafford on to share his thoughts. This is the Cameron Sadeghi Show. This is not the Cameron Sadeghi Show. This is the Redskins-Cowboys Post Game Show. My bad, sorry. I'm your host, Cameron Sadeghi, still. But, let's break down this game even more. And the statistics are pretty telling. And some of you may say, first of all, we've been talking about the Cowboys, and congratulations, Washington Redskins. I just had to go on that little rant because I just don't like some of the reaction of Tony Romo's criticism. So I don't like the criticism of Tony Romo. That's all. But Redskins fans out there made some big plays down the stretch. Robert Griffin III and Alfred Morris. What a running dynamic. I mean, look, I know they're going to face the Seahawks. Seahawks are very disciplined. But, hey, you put that double option, even the triple option at times, sometimes this offense can do, out of their offensive variations and formations. Look out. Look out. This Redskins team, Alfred Morris, 200 yards on the ground. You can blame all on Tony Romo, but if you're giving up 200 yards, you don't win that many football games. When you're giving up 200 yards on the ground, you don't win many football games. And then, what I was really impressed with is the ability of this Redskins team. D'Angelo Hall with this ability. I mean, he's declined a little bit in my mind, but overall, he's done a solid job today. He made some huge bat downs. I mean, there was one third down where Romo had to fit it in there and he couldn't. D'Angelo Hall made that big play. Credit to him. And then I look here and then you see the red zone efficiency with the Redskins was pretty good. It was a perfect executed game for this Redskins team. They didn't make it high scoring, which I thought was the right way to do in these elements at home. Because, hey, Romo can catch fire. Okay, the yards per rush, 6.5 yards per rush. 2 plays and they get a first down just running the football. And then the great thing about their offense today was RG3, again, he did so well on the ground that whenever he had to go on the air, he made the necessary plays. The defense was so afraid of what he could do on the ground. He became a huge threat in the air. Even with only the 100 yards. They didn't expect him 9 completions, 100 yards. So, hey, great job. Robert Griffin III. Then I look, and you know what? You look down the line at this Cowboys receiving core against Washington's. Washington's got some pretty good receivers. Hankerson has really stepped up. We know that Santana Moss is always good, but even though he had 2 catches, 22 yards, he's still good. Pierre Garçon, we know how good he is. So, credit to the Redskins. By the way, we're actually going to take one more break. We'll get Lamar on, and then we'll discuss this even more. Just hold on for 30 seconds. Alright, we are here on the Redskins-Cowboys Post Game Show. I'm your host, Cameron Sadeghi. We do have Lamar Gafford. You can follow him on Twitter at Primetime2832. He's a very knowledgeable sportsman, and he's joining us here. He follows the Cowboys a lot. He knows all of his Cowboys knowledge, and he's here to drop some knowledge on us today. Thank you, Lamar, for coming on.
Thank you very much, Cameron, for having me on the show, too.
All right. Lamar, you look at this game, and I said I addressed this earlier on the show with the Tony Romo criticism and how, I honestly, despite the 3 interceptions, I still think that the criticism of Tony Romo is still harsh and unfair, because when you look at the team's history, after the Switzer Johnson era, it went down the tube until Romo came, and as an undrafted free agent, in my opinion, he's exceeded expectations by a mile, and I feel like his criticism's been unfair. Would you agree with my assessment?
Well, you're pretty much right. I was listening to a little bit of it from what you had earlier on in the show, what you were considering like the dark ages that we had in the past, where like before we had Romo, we really didn't have the Cowboys really didn't have a quarterback that you could really count on as like a cornerstone of the team. Like after Troy Aikman retired in 2000, we pretty much had like Anthony Wright, Quincy Carter, Benny Testaverde, Drew Bledsoe, and those names really weren't pretty much great names. And in Testaverde and Bledsoe's case, they were pretty much in the decline of their career. But Romo stepped in 2006, really took it to the reins, and he put the Cowboys at least into a position to try to get themselves in the playoffs. So I would really say this. I can understand with some people being a little bit mad about Tony, but then again, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, he's pretty good, and he can at least put your team into the playoffs. And really, if the Cowboys got rid of him during the offseason, who do we have to put in the play, to replace him with?
I agree. And then if you look at this game, yes, the interceptions, I understand that. But again, I don't understand how this Cowboys offensive line, and I've heard Chris Collinsworth say this, that one of the easier things in the NFL to do is picking up a blitz. And seemingly the Cowboys struggle with that the whole night. And I don't care if you have Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, if they get that blitz and there's a free rusher every single time, which it seemed like pretty much tonight, they're not going to be successful either. So it seems like this whole Cowboys ordeal is so much put on Romo, but then they can't even really protect Romo to even give himself a clean pocket, which was a huge issue today. Do you think that in this upcoming draft, do you think that the Cowboys need to even furtherly address this offensive line issue even more?
Oh, most definitely. I really think so. I just looked it up, actually, and that the Cowboys have the number 18 pick in the 2013 draft. So I really think that getting an offensive lineman has to be at least top priority. We've seen how the Cowboys did earlier in the season when they did not have DeMarco Murray in the lineup, and pretty much they didn't have that running game to complement with Tony Romo's ability to throw the ball, and pretty much he was getting sacked numerous times. And as we can see in this game, like you said, they couldn't pick up a blitz or anything else like that. They really need better offensive linemen, and maybe guard, maybe center, maybe some tackles as well. But offensive line is really one of the positions that they have to address into this thing just to keep Tony Romo upright.
I totally agree with you. And then another thing, let's switch back to the Redskins, because again, we have to give them credit for what they did today, especially on the ground. They were a force to be reckoned with on the ground, especially Alfred Morris and Robert Griffin III, as both of those players, both rookies, have added a special dynamic to this team that we really haven't seen with a quarterback, playmaker like Robert Griffin III and Alfred Morris's power running ability. It just, to me, the Cowboys, even when they needed to make a big play stopping the run, they couldn't. And is this another issue, their rush defense, because today, yes, I know they're facing the number one rush offense, but there were times where they had to make a play. They had to make a play, and they couldn't stop the run whatsoever. There was one point where Alfred Morris just ran right up the gut. I mean, not right up the gut. He made a few moves, made a few men miss, and ran right up the middle with not even a man near him. Do you think that this rush defense also needs to be addressed with this team?
Absolutely. Like you said, whenever you give up 200 yards, especially in a big game like this, that is pretty much of a problem. And like I said, give all props to the Washington Redskins. They came in with a very good game plan. You see, Alfred Morris, he had 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they stuck with it, and it gave them they got a victory because of that. I just also want to give more of the props to the Skins that pretty much they were pretty much dead in the water at 3-6. And now to see them rattle off 7 straight wins, they really put themselves in that position to, they got into the playoffs, they got themselves a home playoff game, and now we got ourselves a pretty good rookie battle between RG3 and Russell Wilson. But yes, in the Cowboys case, giving up 200 yards on the ground is unacceptable in that case, and they really also need to make some moves, probably to get it like an entire interior lineman, just to at least stop the run a little bit more. They really answered the pass with getting with upshoring their cornerback situation by getting Morris Claiborne and Brandon Carr last season. But now you got to stop the run, and I think by at that time, if they can do that, who knows what can happen for them.
All right. I want to also ask you one last thing. Give me your prediction on Redskins-Seahawks Sunday at 1:30. Do you feel as if the Seahawks team can keep it rolling, or do the Redskins continue rolling at home, or do you feel as if Russell Wilson will get the upper hand today? Sunday.
Oh man, this is going to be a very good one. This is probably going to be a very, very close pick. I think right now, if you were to ask me, I probably would be leaning a little bit more towards the Seahawks. They have, it just seems like their game plan is working very well. They're on a great roll, and it seems like nobody stopped them at this point in time. Russell Wilson is making smart plays. Marshawn Lynch is pretty much their workhorse, and their defense is pretty underrated. And pretty much the whole team is underrated. But I would also suspect that the Redskins, they would not give up in this case, too. I mean, RG3, we've already seen what he can do. He's pretty efficient with the ball. He doesn't make that many mistakes. We've seen what Alfred Morris put in. He put in a very good clinic. It's going to be a very good game, but right now, if you were to ask me, I would say the Seahawks win it in a close game, like by 3 or 7 points.
I actually agree with you too. I think I absolutely have to agree. I actually think the Seahawks. To me, I even said it before. I would not be surprised if the Seahawks make it to the NFC Championship and lose, because if they win against the Redskins, they have Atlanta, and I'm not really impressed with Atlanta either, and then they'd probably, in my opinion, face the Niners in the NFC Championship and would lose there. So that's just what I think about that. Thank you very much, Lamar. We really appreciated you coming on the show.
You're so welcome, and once again, thank you very much for having me, and hey, we got to have you on the show one of these days, too.
All right, please listen to Gafford and Brown. Thank you very much. Yeah, please listen to Gafford and Brown. They have a show on here as well. They have episode 9 on the program. On this channel. Right here, you can listen to them. You can listen to the archive. I totally agree with him. Absolutely. Redskins, I don't think their rushing dynamic is enough against the Seahawks. Seahawks play absolutely beautifully in regards to rush defense. discipline-wise. They are the most disciplined, one of the more disciplined defensive teams you'll find in the NFL. No doubt in my mind. Earl Thomas, Chris Clemens. You don't think the Redskins will be shaking? I mean, not shaking, but hey, you got Russell Wilson, who again, he can make plays when they break down. Same with that matchup. It's going to be two small market-like teams. Well, yeah. Well, teams that are not really discussed by the national media a lot. Okay? Going at it. It's going to be a beautiful matchup. To me, the Seahawks and the Rams... I mean, not the Rams. The Seahawks and the Redskins are the future of the NFL. They're like Patriots-Colts in the early years of the 2000s. That's what I see here. I see the Colts, the Redskins, the Seahawks, those type of teams, the future elite teams. The future elite teams. So, really, really, really proud of just everything that's occurred. Everything that's occurred with these teams. They've really, really, really deserved it. Congratulations. Congratulations to all of those teams and all of those quarterbacks. I mean, it's so hard to win one game in the NFL. Okay? I don't think people appreciate how hard it is to win one game in the NFL, let alone a playoff game. One game. Can you give me 60 minutes of your best shot? And that's what these teams have in them. Great willpower. Okay. Let's take one more time out. We'll be back in a moment, and you know what? We're going to close out the program. And then we'll see you then. So, one more time out. No, not hasta luego yet. Just wait a little bit. Wait 30 seconds, please. Okay, we're going to close the show in about a minute or so, 40 seconds. Just want to say thank you very much for listening to this special edition show. Please listen to our archived shows. We really appreciate you guys listening all together. And more shows will be in the upcoming year. We have Baseball America Radio. It's a new radio show. Please like our Facebook page. Please listen to Gafford and Brown. We had Lamar Gafford share his thoughts about the game. Gafford and Brown have done a supremely great job. NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil's tomorrow. You do not want to miss that. It's going to be 60 minutes of all NFL for you. They'll give you updates, scores, news, everything that you need to know. So, NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil tomorrow, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time. Please go and listen to that show. It's a great show. And this show is over, this post-game show. I'm going to have another show on January 6th. NFL. I'll be breaking it down. All NFL. I'll tell you and break down the wild card matchups and preview the divisional round games. So please, please stay tuned. Thank you for listening, and like always, hasta luego.